Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So today we'll be starting with something called shell scripting. What is shell scripting? Um, Yesterday we learned many Linux commands, right? So these Linux commands, we have to write each one by one, like one after the other. And you have to wait for its execution. Rather than doing that, you can put all these Linux commands in a single file, which is called script file, and run the script file so that all the commands would be executed in one go, right? That's called a shell scripting, like a file where you put all Linux commands and you can execute them, all of them together. So let's see how to start writing this shell script. I'm just creating a file and naming it as sample.sh. Here your shell script begins with pound and exclamatory. And here you will tell bin bash. This will tell like which shell program it should use. This is the shell program it should use to execute your script, right? That's an executable, which will help you execute your shell commands or Linux commands. This is the beginning of your shell script file. And now you can start writing anything. I'm just start writing some echo command, setup and configure the server. So echo command will print the message, right? It's like a print command. I'm just saving this. A single command I have written as of now. Now, how do you execute your shell script? There are
Yes.
multiple. You can do this. Tell
Yes.
me.
Yes.
So this is your script, right? The one way to execute is simply bash and the file name. See, it executes what is present inside this file. Another way is you can run this as an executable, but you should provide executable permissions for it. Yesterday we have seen, see, this doesn't have execute permissions. So what I can do, I'm running as root user.
CH.
So chmod, provide executable permissions to the owner of the file. Now if you see, the color change, it has got execute permissions. Now you can simply run this as an executable this way. That is another way to execute your script. Understood? Where comes the executable permissions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So let us learn other basics of this shell scripting. So don't think that you are new to that or else you are new to programming and all. We are learning from the beginning. Just consider it like a new subject you are learning. That's it. You don't need to have any background of coding skills or programming skills to do this. So just consider it and learn it like a new subject, putting all the hesitations aside. Okay, now uh, let us have some variable. What is a variable? Variable is like a holder which will hold some value or which will hold some data, or else it's like a container to hold some value. Like you have x equal to 5. X is a variable, right? Which will store some value. Similarly, you can create some variables here which stores the values. And you can give any name to the variables. Like x, I'm giving here file name as a variable. And I'm assigning here some file name, for example, as config.yml. Later on, I want to print this variable. Using the file, I want to refer this variable. I can copy this variable name and put here. But if I put it just prints file name, but I want to print what is inside the variable. So how is that possible? You refer the variables with a dollar sign so that the value inside the variable will be referred here. To configure. Can you see that? And is this much clear for all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, using the config, the file config.yml to configure, right? So the value stored in the variable will be used this way. So you can use a variable to store the value, and if you want to refer that variable with a dollar, you can use it. Are we good with the script? Any questions, you can pause and ask here itself. It will be easy for me to explain.
Yeah. Sorry, can you please repeat that again? File name is equal to config.yml. OM, just repeat the last line. Yeah. Variable name is file underscore name, and it is.
Just I want to print the value stored inside the variable. So if you want to
Okay.
refer the value inside the variable, you should use dollar before the variable.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So it will print config.yml. If I don't put dollar, it will just print file name.
File name. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And Preeti, we can define the variable name without explaining the like whether it's a var file name equals to we
Yes,
need not
no
to.
need. That is not a puzzle. That's not required in shell script.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
And I'm defining another variable called config files. Okay, and config files means I want to get files of another folder. Like there is a folder, let's assume there's a folder called config. I want ls config. So if I write like this, ls config will be assigned to config files. But I want to assign the value present inside. So dollar. Understood? So whatever files are present, like whatever is the output of ls config will be assigned to config files. Correct? Now I will print that as well. Echo contents of config directory. What is the config directory content? Config files variable. Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me save it and let's run this. The error cannot access config because there is no directory as config and we are asking to give the contents of it. Right, use the file config.yml to configure. Contents of config directory is empty because we don't have data. So it may throw an error if it is not present. So I don't want this to happen if it is not present. What I want is, I want to first check if it is present or not. Right, how do we do that? That's where comes something called if conditional statements. We can check if this is true like this. -3. Then reading config directory. Right? What this is called file operator. This will give you true, means this will give you true if this directory is present. So if it is present, I'm saying reading the config means getting the content, and yes, you can get the config files this way. Suppose if it is not there, like if you are using else condition, else, if it is not there, then config directory not found, creating one directory, creating one. And then, yes, create the directory called make a directory config. Inside that, I would like to create some files as well. Touch config file2.txt and then get the contents this way. Right? And how do you close the if block? Reverse of if effect. Just go through it and let me know. And I'm repeating again, this is called if conditional statements. Okay, if this condition is true, it will execute if block. If the condition is false, it will execute else block. Only either if or else block will execute, but not both the blocks will never execute. Always either if block or else block will execute. So -d is called file operator. and it is checking if this directory is present. If it is present, printing it, and then getting the content of it. If it is not present, means it's saying the same, printing the same, and then creating a directory file and then getting a content of it. Got it? And rest of the lines are same. And we can do one more thing. Here, config folder name is repeated across multiple times. Okay, first let's execute this much. Is this much good?
Preeti, are we using the file name variable anywhere in the condition? No, right?
No, file name variable we are not using in the condition, we are using here.
Print statement. Okay.
Okay, let me execute this. I don't have config directory, so which block will execute first?
That's part.
Else.
See,
Else
config
part.
directory not found, creating one. Let's see whether it has created. See, it has created. If you go to config, there is file2 also created. Good. So that's why it's saying contents of config directory is file2. Got it?
Yes.
Now it is already there. What if I rerun the script?
It
It
will
went
execute the if block.
if
In
block,
second,
reading the config
yeah.
directory and it's printing it.
Okay.
These are the simple basic shell scripting. And we can do one thing. This file name is already there, right? Instead of using this file2, can we use this file name? Right? So let's
Yes.
create dollar file name. Also, let me use another variable to store this folder name. Why to repeat this again and again? Folder name equal to, I may change only here. If I want to change the folder name, if I am using it, I have to change here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So many places I should change. Rather, I will take it as a variable and I'll replace this config with folder name. Correct? Making sense? So that I don't need to change in all the places. Only in one place I'll change it. Wherever that folder name is used, I'll just put this one. Correct? Here also, reading config directory. It should be reading contents of, correct? Here also. Instead of config, dollar folder name. Here also. Dollar folder name. Here also. See, you have to change those many number of places if you want to give a new folder name. So this is better, right? You just have to change it on line number 3. That's it. It will be replaced throughout. Yeah, so. Let's save this. Yeah, using the file config directory. Again, it's working as usual. But this time my directory, right? My directory not found, creating one. Using the file to configure. Contents of this is config.yml. See, my directory is created. If you go inside, it's config.yml. Understood?
Yes.
Everyone, any questions in this script?
Yes, Preeti.
So to execute the script, do we need to be a root user or we can be a,
You can
or
be
like-
any user,
okay, sounds good.
but you should have executable permissions on the script.
Okay, sounds good.
So this is how if conditional statements are used. Suppose I want to have multiple conditions, let's say, like select case if you are into some other language, or else let's say I have 3 conditions, 4 conditions. You can use like if else if block. Let me show. I'm taking another variable as user group. User group is, let's say, demo is the user group. Now, if condition statement begins with dollar user group. If user group is like some group name is some group like system group. Okay, then like you may give some permissions or whatever. Here I'm just printing something like configure the server. If user group is something else, let's say admin group. Then admin the server. No permissions to configure. Right? So you have multiple conditions now. Right? If it is system, it will say configure the server. If it is admin group, it will print admin the server. If it is not system group or admin group, if it is something else, no permissions to configure. You may add here some permissions or write some configurations. I'm just showing you if else if conditional statement. Is this much good?
Yes.
There is no closed syntax for else if.
No?
Closed syntax. F5, I can see. Do we have any closed syntax for else if?
This is else if else if.
No, if then else for else condition you have put else
block
if, right?
started here, if block started here and it ends here.
So that's what. So there is no closing block for else if. Is that right? Understanding from
If else if block, this is if else if block, there will not be a separate closing for this one. Okay, this is a complete if else if block, and if block started here and it will be closed with this one.
okay, yeah, that's what my question.
This
So
is
there is
all
no
single
separate
if else
closing
if
blocks for else if. Okay.
EL means the second condition in the same block itself.
Hmm?
No, the EL if user group equal to ADM you have put, right?
Hmm.
That one, what is meant by EL if?
Else if user group is this one, it will execute this. If user group is this one, it will execute. Else if user group is something else like this, it will execute this.
Okay.
You can add any number of else statements like this,
Okay.
so that you are checking multiple conditions.
Yeah.
And Preeti, if the then conditions have the multiple statement, do we need to put any bracket, or we just can write the multiple statement behind, like underneath of the then?
You have to write, if you have multiple conditions, this line you have to add multiple times before else block. Else block will have the last means if it is not any of the above, then it will go to else. So if you want third condition, you have to add this step.
No, my question is if I have the multiple conditions or multiple statement underneath of the then, so I just can write the without adding any brackets or anything, right?
Under then, yeah, you can add. Here we wrote, right? Under then you have 2 lines.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Mm.
And Preeti, inside else if condition, can we use any of the operator like and or?
You can use.
um,
See, I'm adding one more condition. You can add any number of conditions as such.
Yeah.
You can write any number of lines of code here. It need not necessarily just the echo command, one command. See here, we already have used multiple things.
Yeah.
Now I have 3 conditions. So run the script. See, no permissions to configure because why no permissions to configure?
Because that variable is holding value of demo, which
Yeah.
is not matching with the
It
condition.
is not system, it's not admin, it's not wheel, so it went here. Suppose I'll change this to admin. Right,
Configure
admin
the
the server.
server.
Okay, admin the server. Similarly, if you want to change anything here, you should come here and change it like wheel group. Then it should say monitor the server. See, monitor the server. Each time you have to do this. But what I want is, instead of changing the variable here, I want to pass this during runtime. Means whenever I'm calling this, I want to pass the value. You can use something called positional parameter here. Means the value you are passing first will be assigned here. Similarly for the others also, if you want, you can change it. File name. The value I'm passing as a second one should be assigned here. $2. Okay, so now if you call the script, some unary operator expected once again. Positional parameters, config directory $1, $2. It might be because you should call the script and pass some values. First one is the user group, right? Second one is the file name. Let's say my file.yml. Third one is folder name. Let's say my folder. Okay, because I did not pass the values, it was throwing error on those lines 27, 27, 24, 27, 30. Now see, my folder directory not found, creating one and creating this file to configure. See, my file.yml, which I passed here. And then because I passed admin group, admin the server. Do you see that? Right? That's how you can pass the values during runtime. And the values will be assigned according to their position. First one will be assigned to $1, second one to $2, third one to $3. If you pass in a reverse order, it would be just messing up. My file will be considered as a group name. I'm just messing up there. Admin will be considered as a folder name, file name. And new file will be considered as the folder name. See, new file, directory not found, creating one. It might have created directory by name new file. And file name is admin to configure. Contents of new file is this is the file it's created. And because new my file.yml is the group name, which doesn't match, no permissions to configure. Making sense? How positional parameters work? File with ADM was created. File with that name. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you have to pass them according to the number you have assigned. 1 means you should pass it as a first variable during runtime. 2 means you have to pass it as a second variable. 3 means third variable. I did it in a reverse order, so they got messed up. Understood? These are the basics of shell scripting. You don't need to deep dive into it accordingly as per the requirement. If you can understand the script, that will do. Here in our pipeline also we'll use some shell scripting, and shell scripting is not mandatory. I'll also show you replacing the shell script with Ansible and other configuration management tools. So having basic idea and able to understand the script will do. And can I proceed with the next set of code?
Yes.
Yep, sure.
And suppose
Yes, ma'am.
you want to have a user input so that it will wait for your input. You can use something called reading user input. Read -p. Please enter. -p is a phrase. Please it's a password. Thanks for your password. Right? So it will print the password and then so pass it as a first variable. Let's suppose I want to pass as the first variable. Or else first let me use this much user password, or else let's say enter your name. And let's say username is a variable and thanks for your input, which is username. Right? Let's see this. So see, it will wait for your input. Please enter your name. It will wait for the input and thanks for your input, and it's printing whatever input you have given there. This is called user input. It can wait for your input this way. Read instruction will help you do this. These are the basics of shell scripting. Okay, if you are completely new, understanding the script is important rather than you writing line by line. Right? First means you should able to understand the script. You don't need to write line by line. There were so many ways you have even ChatGPT to get a help to generate such scripts. So it's not that you have to write line by line. So for our learning purpose also, you can just get started writing a small scripts by copying the script and try to execute by passing different values, understand it thoroughly. Because like I told you, right, you don't need to write from the scratch. You have many tools. You have ChatGPT in particular, let's say shell script to check if folder is present. That's what we did, right? Folder is present. See, it will even explain the script. After writing it, it will also explain the script. This is what we wrote, right? Folder, if, condition, and block, right? So you have many helps as such. You can just copy this code and use it by modifying accordingly. So the point is not that you should understand, I mean, you should write from the scratch. You should be able to understand and use the script or modify the script. And I have used some file operators, right? Like -d. Here are different file operators like -b, -c, and so on. These are all the different file operators. Do you see that? So these are all the different file operators we have. Accordingly, you can read the description use. This is some tutorials where you have Linux basics. You don't need to get started and learn all of this content, not required. Just go through the basics, whatever required. You can spend some 10 minutes every day to understand this environment. That's how you can learn better. Right? You have the concepts, everything. And directories, working with the directory, home directory. Okay. So these are the references to get started with. And this is the script we have generated. Similarly, like I said, we will be using this script in our pipeline, maybe to install some tools on the servers. You may use the shell script to install the tools or to start the services or deployments. We'll be using it. Okay, we'll be writing some shell scripts as we progress and see how they can be used from our CI/CD pipelines. That implementation will do. Here I'm just showing you the basics, like what is what and all. We'll implement them in our CI/CD part. Any questions here? So don't worry about the shell script, just understand and try to execute. Yesterday's part is more important than this. So first concentrate on yesterday's part, like working with your file system, folders, that is very important. Any more queries? Okay. So let us get into installations now again, like we did installing HTTPD, right? Let's get started. Good to go, or any questions? We will keep writing more scripts in the CI/CD part. Can I proceed or any questions?
No questions.
Sure, Preeti, we can proceed.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, right. Thanks for confirming. So yesterday we installed the package and started this, right? Now again, it was not running. Let me start. Systems ETL is the utility to manage your packages. So start HTTPD. Okay, now if you check the status, it's running and the port is 3534. I mean, not port, the process ID. So netstat minus lntup to check on which port it is running. grep 3534. See, it's on port 90. Yesterday we have started on port 90. I have shown you how to change the port as well, right? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, the security group.
Yeah, no, port of HTTPD in the httpd.conf. Of course, whatever port you are using,
Okay.
you have to add it here. But first of all, that if you want to change the port, default is 80. You should change it, right? You should change it in the httpd.conf file. See, you should do hands-on on regular basis. Okay, if you don't do hands-on, you cannot register everything we have learned. So here you have, it would be difficult to memorize everything, whatever you have learned. There are folders. This one. HTTP.conf. Here we changed. Do you remember this? It was 80 yesterday. We changed it to 90 and restarted HTTPD. So that's how you have to change the default port. It is an HTTP.conf. So do the hands-on, please. Okay, these are the basics which everyone should know. Not only demos people, these are like general things. So please go and do the hands-on. Okay, now, yeah, we changed the port and it was running there. Let's say we want to deploy it. HTTPD is a web server, right? A web server HTTPD, which is running on port 90. Okay. It's running on port 90 and there is something called document root location. This is called the default document root location for HTTPD. How do you know that? Again, this is where you can check. In the same file, there will be something like document root. That's called document root location. Remember this terminology. And what it does, I'll tell you. See document root. Do you see here document root? The directory out of which you will serve your documents. Means that's where you will put all your HTML files or PHP files or any documents that need to be deployed. By default, all requests are taken from this directory, but symbolic links and aliases may be used. So this is the document root location. Again, that's a default. If you want, again, you can change here. Making sense?
Yes.
So let's go to the document root location, default document root location of HTTPD. You remember this terminology. So here I'm going to create some simple HTML file. Generally, this code will be given by developers. Okay, we will deploy that in this location. So your application will be running. I'm just writing a simple HTML file. That's a HTML line. Just ignore it. Developers will give you this file. Now that I place this file in the document root location, if you refresh it, that's how you deploy on a HTTPD web server. It could be HTML pages or PHP or any static web pages or any documents can be hosted here. Understood? Simple deployment, a manual deployment. Manually, I have installed HTTPD. I went there and placed the code here. Understood?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this process, what did you learn? You learned installing a package, HTTPD, starting the service using systemctl commands, checking the netstat and the port of it, and modifying the default port and the default document root location. We have seen document root location. We have seen deploying some code or some app on HTTP. These are the things, many things covered here. How do you install a package? How do you start it? How do you check on which port it's running? And how do you change the default port? There'll be a config file by default. You can change the document root location where you'll put the port to deploy. And whatever port it is running, that port should be added in the security rules. Even this is what we have learned. You have to add that port in the inbound rules of your EC2 instance. Then only you can see here. Shall we install another package so that you will see another example?
Yes. Sure.
Yeah.
Let's
ma'am.
install something like Tomcat. Tomcat is an application server. So install Tomcat. Confirmation, give yes. Okay, Tomcat is installed. If you want to see where is it, you can run this command. Where is Tomcat? And this is the place. So go to this location. USR share Tomcat. All the Tomcat configurations will be present here. If you go to conf folder, okay, here you should see something like server.xml. Server.xml, where if you scroll down, here you should see port 88. Right, port 88 is where your Tomcat is. That's where you check the port. Okay. Let me close this. I just came to check the port, but there is another way like to check the port as well. So that's a conf directory. Now let's check the status of Tomcat systemctl status Tomcat. So it's not running. Let's start it. Systemctl start Tomcat. It runs on 8080. If you want, you could have changed the port number here. You can do that and restart, but I'm just starting on the same port. Now check the status. It's running. You already know the port, but still if you want to know through this process ID, netstack -lntup. Grab only this process ID, not everything on the server. 432. So this is the one. So if you just go here, get the public IP. It will have public and IP and private IP. Where do you use public IP or when do you use private IP? Anyone? Public IP is to be used if you are using it from outside AWS. Like I'm connecting from the Windows browser. Yes, public IP. I'm connecting from my putty or terminal, public IP. If you need communication between two instances, then the private IP can be used. Private IP will be fixed and stable. Public IP will be keep on changing if you restart your system. But that's fine. It's the same system with the same private IP. Understood? So, but
Yes.
still it's not working. What should we do? Security rules. Add this port to the inbound rules. Custom TCP 8080. And what is the source? Source block is important. It tells you from where it should connect. Actually, ideally, I should give from my IP or something like that. I'm giving anywhere so that you people also can access it. But this is the secured one. From my Windows machine, I mean from my Mac or else from my own laptop. I'm giving anywhere so that you people can also access it. 8080. It might not be serving on the default page. When you deploy your something, you will see this. That's fine. Now, suppose now I want to deploy something on the Tomcat. Like you have document root location where www.html for HTTPD. Web apps folder is the document root location here. Whatever you want to deploy, you should place in the web apps folder. So you have to put some var files. Means actually Tomcat is an application server which is used to deploy some var files or jar files. Var file is web archive file. Like it depends on the Java code. Developers will give the Java code and that var file, which you can put here and your application can be running. So here I don't have Java code or else I don't have var file. I'm downloading some var file from the internet. Sample var file. What happened? Sample var file download. Okay, even Tomcat is from Apache, so it provides a sample var file for testing. See here, you can download it from here. You get this URL, copy. How do you download it on a Linux machine? This is again
Oh.
another new concept. From a URL, if you want to download something on Linux machine, you have wget. Wget and the URL you copied from it. Okay, let me copy it properly. Copy link address. Wget that URL. So that wget will download the file from this. See, we download it into web apps directly. In few minutes, see, it's a var file, it's like a zip file. It will be built from Java code. It is extracted into a folder. Means your application is ready. And you should see this on the endpoint of your folder or var file name. See, this is your application deployed. Got it? Everyone? You should place it into the web apps. Whenever you place it in the web apps, it will be extracted into the folder by the same name. You can access the application with the same endpoint as that var file name /sample. If suppose sometimes it may not be extracted into a folder, then you have to restart your Tomcat. Understood, and are we good?
Yeah, yes, please. I'm clear.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, see, these are simple things. Only thing is little practice. If you run this, if you do this twice, you will be all set and good, right? So just try executing these from your end. And now that we have learned Linux basics and now that we know how to install packages, it's a time to get started with Jenkins setup. Good to go. Shall we install Jenkins like we install other packages to get started with the pipelines?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can use the same server for installing Jenkins, or else you can terminate this, start a fresh EC2 instance. That should be also fine. Now you want to install Jenkins, go to download.
Preeti madam, I have wonder.
Yes.
This web server, this web one we are installing in our machine. After that, there are this one asking the credit card or debit card. We will use the credit card, but if any payment, we will in monthly or like how to manage this one.
You are creating free account, right? If you are creating free account,
Yes.
you will not be charged anything. Initially, to verify, 2 rupees might be debited. That will also be credited back again. So you
Okay.
should be using only in the free tier limits to avoid any billing. Also, don't select auto payments. If you are seeing anywhere auto payment, don't select that option.
Okay, madam.
Right. So just give here and you'll be taken to the official website. Again, Jenkins works on multiple operating systems. It works with Mac, Linux, and so on. Windows as well. See here you have it as well, different distributions of Linux. Accordingly, you have to choose. Mine is Red Hat CentOS based, so I'm choosing this. You have to execute these steps. See, downloading Jenkins or creating Jenkins repository file using wget. Just now we have seen wget, right? So do the same Jenkins repo file and then Jenkins key. And once it is done, it also needs Java, right? Jenkins is a Java-based application. What is Jenkins and all I'll walk you through, but just we are in the process of installing, right? So let us install it. I will give you what is CI/CD, all that we will learn and get started with it tomorrow. Okay? Just we are in the process of installations. I'm showing you installing it. It's a basically Java-based application. I'll explain you about this again tomorrow. Just go with installation today. What is Jenkins? All of that will see. See, actually it doesn't install this Java package. 1 minute. See, it says it's not available. Let's try installing Java 11. Java 11, any version should be fine. Again, it's saying it's not available, but it is giving a clue. You can install it with Amazon Linux extra packages like Yum package. You have Amazon Linux extra. Here I'm trying with 17. It's not there. So you should go with 11 only. Any version should be fine. What is Jenkins? Okay, what are the similar tools in the category? All that intro we will learn tomorrow. First time installing it so that you could also set your Jenkins ready by tomorrow.
And Preeti, we are installing it in web apps directory, right?
No, you are running commands from there. It doesn't mean that you are installing it there. It will go into the separate folders. You can run these commands from any location. It's not the location specific.
Oh.
You can run from any place. So Jenkins is installed. I mean, Jenkins, Java is installed. So now you can install Jenkins using minstall Jenkins.
So can this be installed on the Windows system also? I mean, on the it should be there on the Linux server, or it can be installed on that Windows system based system also.
Like I said, Jenkins works on multiple operating systems. Okay. Windows here you have, see, go there, execute those steps. See, here are the steps. Click this link and it already downloaded some. See, it's downloading some MSI file.
Okay.
So according to your distribution of Linux or Windows or whatever, you can go here and do it. Mac also there. You can install directly there, but we are installing it on Linux. See, it can be installed on all these cloud platforms. Okay. So, yeah, install Jenkins. Now that Jenkins is installed, let us see the status. Systemctl status Jenkins. It's not ready. By the way, your Tomcat is also running on port 8080. Jenkins default port is also 8080. You could have changed Tomcat port or you have to change Jenkins port. I don't want to change Jenkins port. I would remove Tomcat. Just for testing we install, right? Otherwise port error, you'll get error remove Tomcat. That's how you can install the packages. Confirm it. So nothing should be on port 8080. What I'll do is I'll check if this port is available. Netstat -lntup pipe graph 8080. If anything on 8080, see nothing. Is anything on 90? HTTPD is on 90 port. See? So I'm making sure it's clean. No inputs with running on the port. Okay. Now systemctl start Jenkins. It will be running on port 8080. Because I know the port, I'm grepping this way. Otherwise, you should grep with the process ID to get the port. Vice versa, I did. Making sense, everyone? Any confusions, questions here?
Yes, Preeti. I'm clear with the installation, what you are doing right now, but the same will not be applicable in the corporate environments, right? Because these servers, this Jenkins servers will not be accessible to the internet, right? I mean, these servers will not have the access to internet. So how we can get using wget? So will that be any manual method installation as well?
That depends on the server, right?
Yeah.
There's Jenkins. It
So
depends.
let's assume that we don't have an internet connection to this server. So
Hmm.
the wget will not work. right? So
They'll
how,
have they will have the access to the public repositories, or else public access, or else they might have their own repositories where they have their own source for installing it. They'll download from there and it will be installed. It's on this process ID. They can have private repositories, right, where they have the source for installing Jenkins or whatever.
Yes.
okay, so yeah, right, but we only need to guide them to get the package in the private repository. I mean,
See,
in the,
it depends on various companies, okay, how they were doing. It depends on changes according to each company. Okay, the repositories might be managed by separate team. Okay, you might be provided with access. It's not that you are handling everything. It depends. So Jenkins is running on port 8080. I'm just trying to hit this. 1 second. It's running and port 8080. So I'm hitting this on 135. Why there is no response? Okay. Okay. See, Jenkins is installed, and for the first time, it will be locked. You have to unlock this Jenkins. And where is the unlock password is present here. And what is this actually? See, whenever you install Jenkins, this directory is created, which is called the home directory of Jenkins, where lib Jenkins. Okay. So see, it will have already some folders with all the data. There is another folder called secrets. Here is the initial admin password. Do you see that? That's where you have the unlock password. This is only for the first time of launching your Jenkins, you need it. Even that was also giving you a clue to get the password from the same location. Do you see that? Where lib Jenkins secrets initial password. So let us install this. Let's unlock it. Okay, done. Then it is asking customize your Jenkins. Customize your Jenkins meaning Jenkins is a plugin based tool. Plugins are like add-ons, which will extend, which will enhance the functionality of Jenkins. Means, let's say you want to Jenkins to integrate or do something with the Docker. You have a Docker plugin, you have Ansible plugin, and so on. So you have plugins for many things or many tasks. So you can go with, this is also only for the first time. You can go with suggested plugins, means more widely used plugins, or else you can choose this. You have to choose what plugins you need. Okay, you can pick up accordingly. I'm going with suggested plugins. More widely used plugins will be installed. This may take some couple of minutes. This is again only one-time task. Only for the first time you do it. What if you want plugins later on as per the project requirement? Yes, after login also you can install those plugins. Okay, but this option you will get for the first time so that you can get started with the default plugins. Later on, as per your project requirement, you can install other plugins. Okay, all these plugins or any changes in Jenkins will be in this var lib Jenkins directory. See here, if you go to plugins folder, see these are, as you keep installing, you will see the list here. Do you see that? 61 plugins,
Yes.
63 plugins. So I just want to show you, here is what the change happens. Whatever plugins you install, all of them will be present or stored in here. Right, see here you can see Gradle plugin, Ant plugin, SSH build agents plugin, Git plugin. Do you see all of that? So let's get that.
So these are the default plugins which come up with Jenkins package. Correct?
Yes, which comes with Jenkins.
Okay.
Yeah, 87. Do you see that? Number is increasing. So here are all the plugins. See, earlier you have this list, now the list is growing. I just want to tell you, here is where the change happens. Means all your Jenkins configurations will be stored in this path. If you want to take backup of Jenkins, means this directory should be backed up. You will also see that. So just understand Jenkins home directory is very important, where all the Jenkins configurations would be present. Secrets, all the passwords in the secrets folder, plugins in the plugins folder, and so on. 133 were installed by now. In couple of minutes, it should be all good. Any questions till this part? Jenkins is a Java-based application. Because it's a Java-based application, it can work on any operating system. Here we are installing it on Linux-2, Amazon Linux-2, which is CentOS Red Hat-based system. And yeah, we have installed Jenkins and going with the default plugins.
So to practice from our end, is it okay to install on the base system or it should be installed on the Linux system?
Linux. Go with the
Okay.
Linux system, because like I said, right, DevOps is majorly implementing on Linux for various reasons. Also, we would need multiple instances of it. So go with the instance on cloud, don't put on your system.
Okay.
And it is asking to create some first admin user. You may give any name. I'm giving name as admin. You may give any name of your choice. Okay, that user will be the admin user. Full name is admin. Some dummy email ID and save and continue. Okay, so this is the URL, save and finish. Start using Jenkins. So this is the Jenkins URL, IP address colon 8080. And this is the welcome page of your Jenkins. So now we can get started with the hands-on. But before going to the hands-on, I would like to explain or give some theoretical part of like CI/CD. I mean, what is continuous integration? What is Jenkins? Some overview, and then we'll come to this part. As we are in the process of installations, I have shown you. You can do this and get started with your Jenkins all set by tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll begin with the hands-on after discussing few things about continuous integration. Anything from your end?
So Preeti, to install the Jenkins, you use the yum command, right? YUM. Can we use the brew also?
Brew is on Mac.
Okay, not on
Yum
the
is for Linux.
Oh, okay.
These are the commands you should use. Don't just copy or blindly copy the commands from the drive, because in the drive, commands might be from the previous versions also. Follow the process. Follow the process means what did we do? Always follow the process. Don't memorize these links. Okay, just blindly copy the commands. What you have to do, go to Google and type in Jenkins. This is the process you should follow. Download. You should go to the official page where you will see download Jenkins. Here you should go to your operating system, run these commands, copy from here and run it. They were there in the drive. Similar commands were there in the drive. But this is the process. Don't blindly copy from the drive or somewhere else. Follow the official documentations. Okay, this will help you in the long run, because as some changes comes in, it may not work. So rely on the process, not just blindly on the commands. So copy the commands and execute them. Here Java 17 may not be working, put 11 instead. Those are the changes we did. And then install Jenkins. Start Jenkins and you should see it on the browser. Sorry, browser this way. Sorry, this way. That's all you have to do.
Preeti, on again basic question. So Jenkins, what role plays in the DevOps? Is it for continuous integration or continuous pipeline? Both are same or both are different too?
We will discuss that tomorrow, Srinivas. That's what I was also saying. Like today we did installation. We have to discuss on what is continuous integration, what your Jenkins does, what are the similar tools under this category. All of that we will start tomorrow and go with the hands-on. I
Okay.
should have done that before installation, but because we were doing some installations, right? So you will see this more related to it. So I have shown you installing what it does, okay, to what extent it will be helpful. All of that we'll discuss and get started with the hands-on.
Yeah, got it. And another question. So when we clicked on that install suggested plugins, right?
Mm.
So does it downloads the plugin again from the internet, or is it already got installed on the local server the moment we install Jenkins? It just enables the plugins within the server, or is it again going to the internet and fetches the plugin and get it installed on the server?
When you install, when you run install Jenkins, only Jenkins is installed. Jenkins doesn't come by default with all these plugins. Like I have shown you here in the real practice, like I have shown you the count keep on increasing, right?
No, I got that, Preeti. What I mean is the install suggested plugins, the moment you click, right? Is it the plugins are stored in some other place within the server and getting enabled to the plugins folder, or
No,
is it again
from the
reaching back to
internet.
the
It will
internet
be
again?
downloaded like you download any other add-ons, it's downloading again from the internet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You can even have custom plugins. Okay, you may be asking what companies does. They will have their own plugins, custom plugins. These are all open source plugins. Even these will be used. Even they'll have their own plugins. Their plugins will be stored on their own repositories. Okay, they'll have their own custom Jenkins. That's a long story. See, the point here is each company, okay, may have their own customization on top of this Jenkins. Their own customization means they may have their own plugins. One simple example, they may have their own plugins. Okay, their plugins might be stored in their private repositories like artifacts, and they'll be using those plugins. Or else completely they might be containerizing their Jenkins itself into a Docker image and deploy them on Kubernetes cluster. So they will have their own Jenkins image. Okay, so there are multiple ways to handle that. All those scenarios cannot be covered here. We have some limitations on our lab, right? I cannot do private repositories or else I cannot show you downloading from private artifact restores and all. I don't have the setup with me, correct? It's not possible for an individual to do that. But whatever I'm teaching here, if you understand this thoroughly, you could work on any such projects. Means the concept is same. Your plugins, what they does, where they get stored, all this remains same. Only the location from where they are getting downloaded or where they are having their own plugins, these differs. These definitely differs. Even though you learn Jenkins for 1 year also, like maybe you may spend 1 year on Jenkins and whatever extent you learn, the things will be definitely new and vary from organization to organization. With the learnings we have here, you should be able to understand them and apply and work there. Definitely with whatever we are learning, you will be able to do that. So try to understand the concepts, try to relate it to the environments you are working on, because we can't replicate those environments. That's not human possible. As an individual, that we can't do. What we have to do, you have to understand the subject thoroughly. Concept remains same. The concept of where plugins are stored or what are the concept of plugins or how your Jenkins works, all this remains same. Your environments varies here. So if you know the concepts thoroughly, you could be comfortable placed in any environment. Of course, with a little learning will be definitely required in whatever project you are placed on. Making sense, everyone? Any more questions?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I would give one more example. I have worked with Jenkins from, like, I don't remember the years, maybe more than 6 years on Jenkins alone I worked. I have seen different environments where Jenkins is deployed on-prem. I have seen Jenkins deployed on a Kubernetes cluster. I have seen Jenkins working on ECS environment. I have seen Jenkins deployed, means it would be like everything will be under the secured environment where you would be deploying Jenkins as a Docker image on the Kubernetes cluster with their complete customization. You would understand this. You can understand those such environments when you know like what is what thoroughly. Hope you got the point.
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone?
Yes, Preeti, it's clear, but what I even got you what you're trying to say, but still sorry to ask again, right? Is it possible to show one plugin that you're trying to install in offline or any other method rather than connecting to the internet?
And that's what I said, like it's not human possible. As an individual, I can't get my own private repositories to simulate those environments as in companies, right?
Okay.
That's what again I'm saying. Even though I show you, tomorrow you will see a new thing in your project. How do you see that? You should be flexible enough to work on such environments, knowing the concept thoroughly. Even though you see one environment, you will not see the same tomorrow in your project. So what is the point of looking into a similar environment, which is even not possible, of course? So concentrate on the subject and learn it thoroughly, so you would be able to work on any similar environments with that. So that is all from my end. Any other questions from anyone?
I'm good.
Preeti, so this one, Jenkins, we need to install on the AWS cloud instances, right?
Yes. Take a Linux instance on AWS, install your Jenkins there.
So in single instance, we can install Git, Jenkins, and any multiple.
You can install on the single instance, Git, Jenkins, you can install. Tomorrow we'll be installing Maven. Everything on the single instance is fine. When you should go for multiple instances, where comes the need, we'll see. Okay, we'll also use multiple instances as we progress. For now, all of them could be on a single instance.
Okay, thanks.
All right, then. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye, everyone. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.